Um, there's no way in my lifetime I can speak as speedily as you both did. So I'm going to read something very slow. We're going to have one more reader. And this is the following of what Robert had written when Jonathan Williams passed away. Williams and Meyer, Meyer and Williams. Wise critics in days to come will analyze what I can only intuit or foreshadow. It's enriched the author's freedom to investigate areas of extreme poetics. Those are the words from Robert's tribute to the passing, I think, Jonathan Williams in March 2008, which we published in the Rail. And I would like to also thank you, Tom, for making the trip and, of course, his great advocacy of Jargon Society. Please come up, Tom.
The origin, far side of a lake, is always shadow. The middle, voice. Now listen, Gertrude Stein. Can't you see that when the language was new, as it was with Chaucer and Homer, the poet could use the name of a thing and the thing was really there? He could say, "Oh moon, oh sea, oh love," and the moon and the sea and love were really there. And can't you see that after hundreds of years had gone by and thousands of poems had been written, he could call on those words and find that they were just worn out literary words. The excitingness of pure being had withdrawn from them. They were rather stale literary words. Now the poet has to work in the excitingness of pure being. He has to get back that intensity into the language. We all know that it is hard to write poetry in a late age. And we know that you have to put some strangeness, something unexpected into the structure of the sentence in order to bring back vitality to the noun. Now, it's not enough to be bizarre. The strangeness in the sentence structure has to come from the poetic gift, too. That's why it's doubly hard to be a poet in a late age. Now, you have all seen hundreds of poems about roses, and you know in your bones the rose is not there. All those songs that sopranos sing as encores about, "I have a garden, oh, what a garden." Now, I don't want to put too much emphasis on that line because it's just one line in a longer poem. But I notice that you all know it. You make fun of it, but you know it. Now listen, I'm no fool. I know that in daily life you don't go around saying, "Is-a, is-a, is-a." Yes, I'm no fool. But I think in that line, the rose is read for the first time in English poetry for 100 years. Now listen, Robert Kelly, Weeks. Let it be pleased of origins, fat of the shade's branch be root where it may. Trobar clus, the opacity of the poem, its being in shade. Statement, 1968. The line, the hypersyntactic, the silence to disturb the normal deadening flow, the line, lifeline. Map of Annandale. Sometimes I've had little sense of the matter. I'm trying to provide you with a glyph to recognize my movements by. The middle voice. Speaking from a condition neither active nor passive, but somewhere in between. Something like a field of possibilities where intentions arise through observation. The transubstantiation of attention and experience. The poet as an instrument of the poem. Finding the measure. Finding the measure is finding the specific music of the hour, the synchronous consequence of the motion of the whole world. Flesh, Dream, Book. The title Flesh, Dream, Book identifies the three great sources of human information: the flesh of sensory experience, dream and vision, and the holy book of tradition and learning, shared through time. Perhaps at least it sets the priority straight. Flesh, dream, book. Lectiones, lectio, a gathering, a reading aloud the text provided, going over the books of the law, coming back to the matter, the information. Saint Augustine, tolle, lege, take, read. In order to understand anything in this world, we must learn how to read it, which doesn't mean it always will be read the same way on subsequent occasions, or even during the present one. That these variant readings can be concurrent comes as no surprise. Robert Kelly's work asks us to take it up and read just as he takes up the world and reads it to us. Take, to grasp, grip, seize, lay hold of, to touch with the fingers. Read, the sense of something or explaining ordinary writing expressed as speech. To read is to be counseled, to be ready. Walt Whitman, Democratic Vistas. The process of reading is not a half sleep, but in the highest sense an exercise, a gymnast's struggle, that the reader is to do something for himself, must be on the alert, must himself or herself construct indeed the poem, argument, history, metaphysical essay, the text furnishing the hints, the clue, the start, or the framework. Reverie, a mode of engagement with the natural world, not in the sense of idle daydream, but the specifically French sense Rousseau gives it, or later Gaston Bachelard. An alert, mindful, yet spontaneous style of thought to which ideas follow their bent without resistance or restraint. Unlike scientific and deliberate thought, reverie is not governed by a particular purpose or ground plan to establish a hypothesis, say, or achieve some goal in its sensitivity to the reverberation of things. Reverie is a way we open up the world to ourselves and enter the space of elsewhere. Through its supple responsiveness, reverie nurtures a knack for connections, for a unity of the world in which, to the mindful observer, each thing is invested by the myriad relations to everything else. Negative capability. That is when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts, without any irritable reaching after fact and reason, not the objective correlative. Parataxis. I want to share with you Jonathan Williams' last words. He was in hospital having just survived a complete body sepsis, and the doctors wanted him to sit up for a small while. They asked me to talk him through the maneuver. A couple nurses and aides had him upright on the edge of the bed, and now they wanted him to stand, take a couple steps, then sit in a chair. I said to him, "Jonathan, it's easy. You just put one foot in front of another." And he turned to me and said, "Tom, this is no time for Chinese philosophy." Was heißt denken? While I promote the previous as Jonathan Williams' last words, the final thing, in fact, he said to me was, "What do you think, Tom?" Blaise Pascal, all men's miseries derive from not being able to sit in a quiet room alone. Mammon, doing anything for any other reason than doing it. Openness, the reciprocity of attention and acceptance, their consubstantiation. Attention, older than the body, closer than the mind, always with you, the simplest form of awareness. W.H. Auden, the cat has one creed, to thyself be enough. Several years ago, Jonathan Williams and I were taking our cat to stay with friends in Vermont before we went off to England for several months, and we stopped to spend a few days in Annandale with Robert Kelly. He had a meeting that afternoon we arrived, and we were early, so we went out to the site, now the Fisher Center. And I was standing in front of Robin's house when it struck me, place. Place was the key. Get yourself to the right place, and the rest takes care of itself. People, events, karma, dharma. Bard was that place for me. There is a vast ocean, and on its surface floats a wooden ring, and on the bottom of this ocean lives a turtle. Every 1,000 years, the turtle rises to the surface. Now the chances of that turtle's head coming up through the center of that wooden ring are the same as my going to Bard and meeting Robert Kelly, for which I remain ever grateful.